Hey, it's Crypto Bobby, and today I want to talk about a couple different things that are happening in the crypto marketplace, some of the price actions and the price movements, specifically regarding why in a lot of cases you really should not buy on news of an event, because oftentimes it is too late for you to really make a dent in anything, and oftentimes you can lose your shirt a little bit. I also want to talk about some of the news coming out of the Ripple Swell conference that is in some cases bashing Bitcoin, bashing Ethereum, and talking about distributed ledger technology and how that's going to be utilized by financial institutions, and things like Bitcoin and Ethereum really aren't worth much. And then I also want to talk a little bit about Bittrex as well, and the news, the rumors, all the things going on about Bittrex as well. And guys, if you are new to the channel at all, or if you've been with the channel for a while, in a random hotel right now, so I don't know if we can see this, if this will actually work or not, but somewhere in Chicago. So hopefully this actually focuses and you can see what the hell is going on for me right now. But yeah, coming to you out of a hotel in Chicago, so don't have all the same tech set up and everything like that, unfortunately, right now, but travel with the microphone and everything. So hopefully this will still pan out well. If you're listening to this on the podcast, hopefully everything is good there as well. But hopping into it today, I mean, just looking at some of the overall news from CoinMarketCap, within the past 24 hours, I would say the big news in the top 10 is Bitcoin Cash pumping and somewhat coming back to life a little bit. For me, when I look at Bitcoin Cash, I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin Cash personally. I definitely get the reason for its existence, and I get kind of why people like why some people like Bitcoin Cash, but I don't like the animosity between core Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and how Bitcoin Cash in a lot of cases has tried to Bitcoin Cash. Roger Ver literally came out today. It was funny on Twitter. I'll pull it up here, but came out today on Twitter and essentially said Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin. I have a hard time saying. I posted that with a little thinking face emojis, and then also linked to the scene from The Social Network where Mark Zuckerberg tells the Winklevoss twins, if you invented Facebook, you would have invented Facebook. I kind of feel like it's the same thing for Bitcoin. If you were Bitcoin, you'd be Bitcoin. You wouldn't be Bitcoin Cash. So while I understand people want to argue about the merits of this was Satoshi's vision, or this wasn't Satoshi's vision, or this and that, and Bitcoin Cash is a better representation of things, I get that. It's cool. But to say Bitcoin Cash is now Bitcoin, I think is a gross misrepresentation of things. Who knows? I mean, I'm not anti Bitcoin Cash, but I think it hasn't been a good place to park your money in the past month to really in the past 2 months or so, kind of since September 1st, while Bitcoin has crushed it. Money has poured out of Bitcoin Cash. Is this the start of a concerted movement back up for Bitcoin Cash? Who knows? There's obviously people like Roger Ver here, who were the ones, is the one that's pumping Bitcoin Cash and has a lot of ownership and a lot of backing of Bitcoin Cash. And Jihan from Bitmain. There's a lot of people that are apparently, very wealthy in the space, have a lot of money, and could maybe make the markets move in the direction they want them to move. Who knows if they're really behind this, or if there's some other element behind the pump on Bitcoin Cash, but I'm still staying away. I don't see a big reason why I should be putting my money into it. I don't know if there's a big reason why you should be either. But that's always, as everything with the channel, that's definitely up to you. Now, outside of that, too, from today's perspective, one of the other, I think, interesting things going on is Ripple being down quite a bit, being down about 10% on the day. And they're in the middle of what's the Swell conference from Ripple. And Ripple traded up pretty nicely and had actually a spike prior to, I believe, around the time of the conference, and has traded off after the conference. And I think it's an interesting thing, because people always say buy the rumor, sell the news. I really do think that you have to be holding the rumor and then you have to sell the news. That is almost kind of my thought process, or even sell prior to the news, because if you're buying the rumor, a lot of times it's too late. If you're buying the news, you're going to get screwed, because at least from what I've seen in a lot of these things, whether it's something getting added to an exchange, whether it is news about a conference or rumors about a conference, the second a rumor comes out, people start buying it. And then the second the news actually comes out and it gets confirmed or whatever, it just sells off. Or a lot of times it even starts selling off before the news even comes out. So in my case, a lot of times I even think that buying the rumor isn't always the best strategy. It's you kind of want to, if you were holding on to it beforehand, ride that wave. If you want to take some profits, take some profits. But a lot of times playing in this news-driven type of market environment is a really good way to get burned, because you can see these big old movements with a lot of these cryptocurrencies like Ripple, where I think a lot of people bought into Ripple. I mean, we can pull up the last day or so. It's been, you know, on a pretty steady hill down, but a lot of people bought into Ripple prior to, and a lot of people were commenting and saying and reaching out to me on Twitter saying, you know, the Swell conference is going on, you want to buy into it, you know, that's great, but that's kind of classic. You're buying on the news. You're buying that the Swell conference is already happening. The market already knows that. The smart money knows that. If you're buying based on CoinDesk articles and things like that, that's not smart money, and you're the last person to find out, and you're the last person to put your money in, and then you're Johnny Bagholder. So I think that's just one distinction that, you know, if you're talking about buying, the common saying being buy the rumor, sell the news, I think if you're, a lot of times, I wouldn't even buy the rumor in a lot of respects. I wouldn't even buy the rumor. Try to evaluate cryptocurrencies that you feel very confident in. You feel like they have something good coming out in front of them. You feel strongly about them. And if that rumor comes, if something happens, great. If there's, you know, if you hear a rumor and you want to buy more into it, then great. But a lot of times, you know, the people that are buying into the rumor or buying into the news are just way, way, way too late. The smart money already knew about the rumor before you. The smart money definitely already sold their bags to you when you were buying the news. So it's a really good way to get your face ripped off and burned, and buy when you're seeing all this euphoria. Something's up 30%. You buy at the absolute top, and then you check your phone 5 seconds later, and it's already down 15% from the top or 25% from the top, and you're screwed. So it's a crappy feeling, and I think just something you want to be aware about in the future as well. Now, outside of that too, from Ripple's perspective, interestingly enough, and I was listening to another podcast here too. I could link to that, the Unchained podcast, which I like. It, you know, some of the interviews are better than others, quite frankly. But Chris Berniski was on there, and he was a lot of the subject, or some of the subject of the conversation was surrounding Bitcoin versus distributed ledger technology, and how now Bitcoin, in 2017, Bitcoin is pretty hot. Back in like 2015, 2016, a lot of people were really dismissing Bitcoin after it kind of peaked at about $1,200 and then went down and was trading as low as $200. People went from saying, okay, Bitcoin is the next big thing, to, okay, Bitcoin is stupid, but the distributed ledger technology, the actual blockchain tech, that's what we're going to, that's what's going to be valuable. It's not Bitcoin that's valuable, it's the blockchain tech behind it. We're basically going to rip that off, and we're going to use that for whether it's our, existing financial institutions or for something else, whatever it might be. And that's apparently what a lot of the conversation has been around at Ripple. And I think you want to take that with a grain of salt, because the folks that Ripple is appealing to are not the type of people that are, in a lot of cases, investing in the actual, in Bitcoin or in a lot of these tokens or cryptocurrencies, whatever you really want to call them. These are people that are looking to, in a lot of respects, I mean, you're talking about traditional banking institutions that are looking to take what Bitcoin is able to accomplish within their decentralized database, within its distributed ledger technology, kind of squeeze all the goodness out of that, and then pass that along for greater profits for the corporations. I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to. So, when you're talking about these big companies, like going to the Jamie Dimon example, Jamie Dimon has basically said this exact same thing before as well, and he basically rips Bitcoin and says Bitcoin is for fraud, Bitcoin is for money launderers, Bitcoin is for, that's funny coming from them, Bitcoin is for fraud, Bitcoin is for money launderers, for drug dealers, for murderers, blah, 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 blah. But the blockchain tech, that's good, because we can use that and we can make more money off that. We can either, cut our database fees, or we can reduce our, increase our security, or whatever it is for the overall corporation itself, because obviously they're for-profit companies, and they don't really care about, in a lot of cases, anything else but profit. They have shareholders that they're responsible to. So that's something I think that's an interesting distinction here. So, when you see a lot of this information coming from the Ripple Swell conference, people like Ben Bernanke, who is questioning the success of Bitcoin, but then again saying, blockchain technology is here to stay, Ripple is here to stay. You want to take this stuff with a grain of salt, and I don't know if maybe trashing Bitcoin has anything to do with the trading down outside of just the news, but I'm not too. I mean, as far as it goes, I don't see why in a lot of cases. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again too. I mean, from Ripple's perspective, it's an interesting use case, but I see a lot of these banks tend to utilize proprietary technology internally, and they have the development staff on hand to be able to produce that type of thing. So why would they necessarily utilize Ripple instead of developing some type of proprietary blockchain technology internally, which I think a lot of them are doing as well. So I question in some cases some of the success there. We'll have to see how that plays out, but I think that's going to be an interesting thing to continue to keep an eye on, is the people that talk about blockchain technology and how blockchain is fantastic and it's great, but Bitcoin sucks or Ethereum sucks or all these distributed, all these cryptocurrencies are for frauds and whatever, because that was definitely the sentiment from 2015 or 2016 or so. But now with Bitcoin going from $1,000 to $5,000, almost $6,000, you have people now talking about, oh, now actually Bitcoin is a fantastic store of value. It's the digital gold. It's this, it's that. So another interesting thing to really keep an eye on. Outside of that, too, I'm sure a lot of people have covered this as well, and you may or may not be aware. I talked a little bit about it. I didn't see it until last night when I was on Crypto Happy Hour. I talked about it briefly, but I hadn't seen this article until then. But Cointelegraph came out and posted this article that Bittrex, I think they might have changed the headline a little bit, but they basically said Bittrex is eyed with suspicion due to thousands of mysterious account closings, and that they have been closing accounts, they've been disabling accounts. Bittrex is, not allowed users to do anything. They've shut down accounts, they've deactivated accounts, whatever. There was I don't remember the exact headline, but there was a they go on to say some pretty aggressive things. I feel like I'm not even sure off the top of my head, but I feel like this headline was even more aggressive previously as far as Bittrex potentially folding and making some pretty crazy claims about it. So first of all, I'm a fan of Bittrex personally, but if there are suspicions about an exchange, you really, really, really want to be careful with any exchange, any centralized exchange. And that's why decentralized exchanges are becoming so. People are putting so much money behind decentralized exchanges, whether it's 0x, whether it's AirSwap, whether it's Kyber Network, whatever it is, whether it's to a lesser extent maybe BitShares or something like that. But people are putting a lot of money and interest behind these decentralized exchanges because there's not necessarily a single point of failure like there is with centralized exchanges. If the case of Bittrex is, let's say Bittrex happens to go insolvent or something like that, or pulls a Mt. Gox, the one thing that I would say is that Bittrex came out and made a statement about this on disabled accounts, said that 99.9% of their accounts are unaffected, and that this was specifically related to verification issues and things like that. So a lot of people, I think, are looking down upon this, and Cointelegraph came out pretty quickly to say some negative things on it. I would say this, that Mt. Gox, if you're familiar with the story of Mt. Gox, if you're not, I'll link up to. I've talked about it before, but I'll put a link to it in the description of the book Digital Gold. It's mostly focused on Bitcoin. It's not really the other cryptocurrencies, but talks about the foundation of really the founding of Bitcoin, how Mt. Gox really developed into at one point in time like the crypto exchange, and then also the folding of Mt. Gox and how basically everything went belly up, and Max Karpeles is just a moron. But there were rumors about Mt. Gox for like months prior to Mt. Gox folding, and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and actually probably billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin today being gone or just disappearing. With that being said, with these rumors, you want to take them potentially with a grain of salt, but also, I mean, if I'm holding money on if you're holding money on Bittrex right now and you don't know what to put it, get it off Bittrex, get it off the exchanges. This is a lesson. Whether or not this is true, whether or not this is rumors, get your stuff off the exchanges and move it to a hardware wallet, whether it's a Ledger Nano S, if it's a Treasure, whatever it might be, move it to a freaking hardware wallet, get it off the exchanges, take the extra 5 minutes of security, pay. If you have more than $1,000 in crypto, spend $100, get a hardware wallet, and be safe, be secure, sleep well at night, and not worry about this stuff. If you want to trade on Bittrex, as of now, I don't see any problems. I have a Bittrex account. I don't keep anything on it long term, but if I want to trade, I'll send Ethereum to my Bittrex account. I'll wait and I'll trade it, and then I'll move the stuff back off of Bittrex. I would suggest doing the same. I would suggest doing the same with any exchange. Who knows if this is... It seems like this is, at this point, I don't know if you want to call it FUD, but it seems like this is rumors at this point in time, and maybe it's only a small percentage of accounts that were affected, but I would definitely recommend to not keep your money. I think this is, learn about Mt. Gox, read about what happens, because you do not want to be, 850,000 Bitcoins were just disappeared. Imagine having your money on an exchange like Bittrex or any other exchange, and just having it go up in flames, and you never have access to that again, and you really have no course of action to recover that at any point in time. Just be safe, put it on a hardware wallet, and take the proper security precautions. And as of now, I don't see any problems trading on Bittrex, but I would still not. I'm not going to keep my money on it long term. I'm not going to really keep my money on any exchange long term at all. Maybe outside of just GDAX. I feel most comfortable with GDAX, but even then I don't really keep anything on it. So something to be aware of, and whether or not it's true or not, I think it goes to reinforce the lesson that you should be aware of what's going on with what's happened previously with things like Mt. Gox and Cryptsy and numerous centralized exchanges in the past, and that you want to take the proper security precautions to make sure that you are able to keep your money in your pocket or wherever it is, because you're taking your hard-earned money and you're investing in it with hopefully in the future with an increase in that or whatever, or just a store value, whatever you're trying to do. So hopefully, you want to keep that safe and you don't want to lose that money on an exchange. Now, guys, outside of that, that's really just all I wanted to cover today, a little bit from a market perspective and a little bit on the overall news of the day with blockchain technology versus crypto, or versus Bitcoin versus Ethereum, as well as this, the news out of Bittrex as well. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to sound off in the comments below. I would appreciate any thoughts, and definitely happy to address those questions. Rob from Crypto Bobby signing out.